Hi, and welcome back to Mysteries Channel. I just want to say thanks for clicking on my video. Today I thought we'd go over some out-of-place artifacts. I had a subscriber mention that on a comment on another video. That would be a good idea, and I was like, you're right, that is a good idea. Thank you for that. I do appreciate you. So today, that's what we're going to go over. Just want to give you a little disclaimer here. If you're looking for the Voynich manuscript or the Antikythera mechanism to be in this video, I chose to exclude them for a couple of reasons. One, there is a chance that both of these riddles have been solved, and maybe I'll do another video on just those two and what they believe they are now. And two, even if they're wrong and they haven't been solved, there have been so many really good videos made on these two that I just don't think I could hold a candle to what other people have done with them. So I chose not to include them. Instead, I thought I would go with some obscure, lesser known artifacts out there. And one of them technically isn't even an artifact. Now, let's get to it. What is an out-of-place artifact? An out-of-place artifact is an artifact of historical, archaeological, or paleontological interest found in an unusual context, which challenges conventional history, chronology, by its presence in that context. Such artifacts may appear to be too advanced for the technology known to have existed at that time, or may suggest human presence at a time before humans were known to have existed. That being said, let's get to it. Here's my 10. The first one, a 1.8 billion year old nuclear reactor. Now, technically, I don't think that this is an out-of-place artifact, but for a long time, people believed that it was, and so I thought it would be fair to mention it in this one. In 1972, it was announced that a mine of depleted uranium was found in Gabon, Africa, at the site of the Oklo uranium mines near a town called Franceville. Now, why is this interesting? Because people did not think that nuclear fission could happen under natural circumstances. It was a 100% man-made occurrence, and it was a very hard thing to achieve. So when they found a mine full of depleted uranium-235, they couldn't fathom how in the hell it got there. Like, what in the world is going on? They knew that the area dated back about 2 billion years, and then through time, they started to realize that the Earth was much different back 2 billion years ago. And that this mine of 235, this field that contained all that 235, had a much higher percentage at that point in time. If you want nuclear fission nowadays, you have to have at least 3.5% of 235. And at the time, it is believed that 4% were in these formations. So what happened? Formations with all this uranium-235 in it, and all of a sudden, some crystal clear, clean, hard water comes down, goes over the rocks, hits that 235, and creates a nuclear fission. They realized later on that this was happening in pulses over and over again. This is why. That water came down, hit the 235, creates a nuclear fission. It releases an unfathomable amount of energy, turns that water into steam. The steam goes up. As it goes up, it cools, comes back down, starts trickling down the rocks, cooling the rocks off. More water comes down, and bam, it happens again. So they think about every half an hour, there was a 30-second burst of nuclear fission occurring in the area, leaving an entirely depleted field of uranium-235. All right, that was number one. On to number two. Number two are the 150,000-year-old pipes in bygone caves of China. First discovered by a group of U.S. scientists on the hot trail of dinosaur fossils, they realized they were seeing iron pipes sticking out of a mountain near a salt lake. They immediately went to authorities and let them know of their interesting find. The bygone lead pipes are also associated with a pyramid that's about 160 to 200 feet high on the bygone mountain. Once you enter the pyramid, you realize that there are 3 caves, 2 smaller caves and a larger cave. The 2 smaller caves have collapsed through time. The largest cave is still standing. Once you enter, it's about an 18-foot height clearance, and you immediately notice that there are indeed some pipes in there. They are lead pipes with a 16-inch diameter. One is about a half pipe and the other is a full lead pipe. The pipes lead out the cave, down the mountain, and towards the Salt Lake. What's also very interesting about this area is that there are rock monuments at the base of the mountain near the lake below the cave. Chinese scientists are baffled by this because these pipes are said to be about 150,000 years old, but humans in the area only occur about 30,000 years ago, and they were nomads at that. So it's very unlikely that they decided to install plumbing from a pyramid to the Salt Lake at the bottom. What I also find very interesting about this story is that they never questioned the pyramid. Like, that's a given. That's cool that that's there. The pipes are the mystery. And I think I understand why. If you are interested in Chinese history at all, or have looked into it, you'll notice that there were tons of pyramids throughout China, most of them covered up by the government and made to look like they are either hills or mountains, going as far to dump earth on top of them and plant trees just to cover them up more. Another interesting note about these pipes is that when they were brought to a local smeltery to be evaluated, they couldn't figure out what 8% of the material was at all. They have no idea what it is. The rest of it is a combination of ferric oxide, silicon dioxide, and calcium oxide. And then in 2007, they were evaluated again. Nothing else further was really learned about them except that they are irradiated. Number 3, the L-tannin antenna. The L-tannin antenna is an object photographed on the sea floor by the Antarctic Oceanographic Research Ship USNS L-tannin. In 1964, while photographing the bottom of the sea west of Cape Horn, the ship photographed what appears to be an antenna sticking out of the ocean floor at a depth of about 12,808 feet. And there seems to be nothing else really by it, so it's an interesting find. Some proponents of fringe theory believe that it may be an alien antenna put there for communications. Others think it's a large carnivorous sea sponge. I'll tell you what, on this one, it could go either way. Either one, it's going to be different, that's for sure. My number 4 pick, in 1926 at the Bear Creek Mutual Coal Mine in Bear Creek, Montana, a strange tooth was found. It was found by J.C.F. Siegfried, the company doctor. Mr. Siegfried collected fossils from the coal deposits in the mine, and the tooth was found in one of those deposits. It looked exactly like a human tooth, a lower second molar to be exact, and maybe even from a smaller human being. The tooth was yielded from a lump of coal in the deposit that was estimated to be 10 million years old. The tooth enamel had turned to carbon, and the roots had become iron over the passage of time. Number 5, the mounds on the Isle of Pine. New Caledonia, a Pacific island that is approximately 1,000 miles southeast of New Guinea. About 40 miles south of the southern tip of this island is the Isle of Pine. On this little island are about 400 anthill-shaped mounds called tumuli. They are around 8 to 9 feet high, and some of them have up to a 300-foot diameter. The mounds are virtually bare of any vegetation at all. And in the 1960s, the mounds began having some excavation work done on them. What they found is in 3 of the mounds, they found cement pillars buried beneath them upright. In the 4th mound, they found 2 cement pillars right next to each other, also buried in upright fashion. The pillars were cylindrical and ranged from 40 to 74 inches in diameter and 40 to 100 inches in height. The material was radiocarbon dated from 5100 BC to about 11,000 BC. Some who have investigated these mounds believe the presence of cement, presumably man-made, because that's the only way we know that cement is made, proved that there was human activity on these islands long before scientists claimed that there was. Scientists believe that settlers to these islands happened about 2,000 years ago, and that cement wasn't brought on till long after that. Okay, now moving on to number 6. The Dorchester pot was a metal-like object that was recovered in 2 pieces after an explosion used to break up rock at Meeting House Hill in Dorchester, Massachusetts, 1852. It is said that the vessel was blasted at a solid rock and that the vase or vessel was about 4.5 inches tall. The body of the object was said to resemble a zinc alloy with silver in color, and is described to have been that on one side there were 6 figures of a flower or bouquet, beautifully inlaid with pure silver, and around the lower part of the vessel a vine, or a wreath inlaid also with pure silver. The whereabouts of the vessel are now unknown, but it was written about in several papers of the time. Number 7, the London hammer. The hammer was discovered by a local couple hiking around Texas in 1936. The hammer was embedded in a lime rock concretion originating from the Cretaceous rock formation 400 million years ago. The metal of the hammerhead has been confirmed to consist of 96.6% iron and 2.6% chlorine and 0.74% sulfur. Since its discovery, the hammerhead has not rusted, and it is completely unknown how it ever got to where it is. Number 8, the Casper, Wyoming mummy. In 1932, gold prospectors blasting the walls of the Pedro Mountain in Casper, Wyoming found a little mummy. The mummy was found in a seated position with his arms folded on his lap like a little Buddha almost. He had brown skin, a wrinkled flat nose, and a low forehead. Upon his death, he was given a ceremonial burial. And once scientists got a hold of him, they were puzzled by this little man because he was only 14 inches high. He was tiny. In fact, they even theorized that he was a pygmy, completely ignoring the Shoshone tales of the Nimeragar. Of course they did. Why wouldn't they? Who would ever want to believe the absolute BS that's spewed out of the natives' mouths? It's way, way more plausible that there were little African pygmies running around Casper, Wyoming. That makes more sense. According to the Shoshone and Paiute, the Nimeragar were an aggressive people who would shoot poison arrows out of tiny little bows. The Nimeragar, roughly translated from Shoshone and Paiute languages, meaning people eaters. They were believed to kill their own people with a blow to the head if they became too ill to be a participating member in society. The Nimeragar were also said to have lived in the Wind River and Pedro Mountain ranges of Wyoming. Number 9, the Los Lunas Boulder. The Los Lunas Boulder, an 80-ton boulder found on the hillside of Hidden Mountain in Los Lunas, New Mexico in 1933. Frank Hibben, an archaeologist from the University of New Mexico, was led to the monolithic stone by a local guide who claimed it had first been found in the 1880s. Upon this enormous slab rock was a flattened area upon which was inscribed a passage written in ancient Hebrew, which is odd considering the inscription was estimated as being anywhere between 500 to 2,000 years old, putting it well out of the time frame for ancient Paleo-Hebrew to have any business in North America. What is interesting, I tried to find someone or a site that actually, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I believe that it is Aix-en-Provence, France. Basically, workers at a stone quarry near this location in the 18th century came across a find that remains a mystery to this very day. You see, the men were quarrying out of this quarry a lot of stone. They needed large amounts of limestone for rebuilding the Palace of Justice. And in the quarry, the rock strata were separated from each other by sand and clay. Now, they had gone down already 11 layers of this quarry, and once they hit the 12th layer, they made a very startling find. They found some half-worked pillars made of the same rock that they were quarrying out of the area. What else did they find? Well, they thought, well, that's interesting. Let's dig down just a little bit deeper. As they dug deeper, they found coins and tools. The tools, whose handles were made of wood, had been petrified through time, which means that they had turned to stone. And as the workmen were looking at the tools, they were completely baffled and shocked to find that they very much resembled the types of tools they were still using this very day. What I find also very interesting is when scientists came to see the area, they estimate where the coins and the tools were found and the pillars were found were resting in an area of the quarry thought to be around 300 million years old. Dang, people, that's old. All right, well, those are my 10 obscure, out-of-place artifacts. Tell me what you think. Which ones were your favorite? I personally find the little mummy and the French quarry, those are my 2 favorites of all time. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Let me know. Do you guys know of any artifacts that are out of place in your area? Maybe even local legends, maybe some that are hard to find evidence of. I always like hearing those stories. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thanks. Have yourself a great day.